Welcome back to Breakfast. It's almost 5 minutes to 8. When Asif Munya and his wife moved to New Zealand, it only took a few days for a neighbour to ask if they were carrying guns. And that wasn't a one-off. Starting today, along with other members of the Muslim community, Asif is hitting South Island streets to try and correct some misconceptions, one question at a time, by wearing his "I'm a Muslim, ask me anything" t-shirt. He joins me now alongside Mustanza Kamar. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to start by firstly saying to you both, it must take a lot of courage to do what you do, honestly, to be standing there and putting these questions to random strangers out there. Why? Why are you doing this?
I think the motivation behind this is obviously the misunderstandings that are prevalent about Islam. And maybe you're aware that in 2017 there was a study done, the New Zealand Attitude Survey, and it surveyed over 16,000 New Zealanders. And it concluded that the more avid a newsreader one is in New Zealand, the more likely they are to hold anti-Muslim sentiments. And this is well before the Christchurch mosque attacks as well. So for a number of years, well before the Christchurch mosque attacks, we've been running this Meet a Muslim campaign. We started off initially with social media and social experiments and stuff, and then we felt more of a need to actually tackle misconceptions and allow people to ask us anything. Nothing's off limits. Let's sit down over a cup of coffee. Let's meet out, whether it's in the streets or in a cafe, or we're inviting people into our homes. Let's have those discussions. Let's build those friendships and remove those misunderstandings. And nothing's off limits. Ask us anything you want.
So when you say nothing is off limits, what are the most common questions you're being asked?
Well, in Hamilton, when I organized these campaigns in Hamilton, one of the most common questions that someone asked me was about terrorism, violence, and extremism. And one guy actually asked me, "Oh, you're those suicide bombers, or you're those terrorists." So it's quite awkward, but this is the challenge, what we have to face then.
You say it is awkward, but it also is an insight to the way many Kiwis are thinking, I would assume.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that when you're trying to give them the truth? Do you think they walk away and accept that, or do you think the mindset remains?
I think it varies, but generally, like throughout the years, we've felt that there's been times when I would say that we've met people who've been heavily influenced by the far right, or possibly even belong to those groups. And initially, they've been very reluctant to even meet us. But when we finally convinced them to sit down and meet us over a cup of coffee at a neutral location, at a cafe, when they've actually sat down with us, we've had a long discussion for two hours or so at a time. And by the end of it, they from being hostile initially, by the end of it, they're literally getting up and hugging us, and they're staying in contact with us. So we've had those really fruitful discussions and dialogues as well, and people are still staying in contact with us as well, and they're asking us questions in between on social media, and it's been very positive. And from my perspective, I personally believe that by doing such initiatives, we could be preventing the next Christchurch mosque attacker. That's what is behind our motives behind this as well.
I absolutely love it. And you say it's all positive, but are there moments where things get negative? And can you talk to me about that?
Yes, at times we do feel like people are asking genuine questions, but some people are asking questions just for the sake of attacking Islam, or just to offend us. So our motto of our community, the Muslim community, is love for, hatred for none. So no matter what hostility or persecution we face, we are taught to adhere to this beautiful principle, which is to love everyone and hatred for none. And this is the mindset that we keep in our minds when we deal with hostilities and persecution.
As Muslims, where are we at in your view, and be honest with me, where do you think New Zealand is at as a country in terms of accepting and understanding Muslims?
I personally think there's a long way to go. And I mean, just as a general society, we are very accepting in New Zealand, and compared to other places around the world as well. But there are minorities out there who hold very far-right views and anti-Islamic views as well. But the thing is, I mean, where we're accepting, it's just generally the way of life of Kiwis that makes us accepting in that way. But I think there's a long way to go in that learning process of why, because obviously there's a lot of negative things that we hear around the world, and in the name of our faith. And it's important to be able to distinguish and make that distinction between the actions of certain Muslim extremists and the teachings of the religion. And that's what our campaign is about, so that people are in a better position to be able to distinguish through knowledge, through understanding, that this is what the faith teaches, and these people, these extremists, and these far terrorist groups and stuff are completely going against the teachings of the faith, and that only comes through knowledge. And that's like one of the things behind our campaign, so we can arm people with the right knowledge, so that we can prevent New Zealand falling down that same trap that we see other countries around the world falling into.
Brilliant. I applaud you again for the courage, but also the honesty and the education. Mustanza and Asif, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.